actors. Today is my first piece in a new series of articles for actors called Ask Smart Girl, What You Need to Know. In this series, each week I'm going to be addressing some of the most commonly asked questions that I get asked by actors, also known as frequently asked questions. I'll also be answering some that I call SAQs, or should ask questions. The should ask questions will cover some of the things that I think that you should know, but you may not even know to ask. The whole point of the series is to add some nuance to your understanding of how Hollywood works. And of course, if you have questions for my Ask Smart Girl show, I would love to hear it. Just email it to our help desk at support@smartg.com. That's SUPPORT at smartg.com. Now, let's get into today's question, which is one of the most common questions I get asked, and that is, should I leave my old credits on my resume if I don't have any great new ones? This is a great question. Now, I look at this as a strategic question because I come from a marketing perspective. You might hear one casting director say something like, oh, no, take all your old credits off. But then a smaller agent might say, no, put all your credits on. You want to look as good as you can, show that you have as much experience as you possibly can. Both of them are saying their perspective on what they think is right. By the sheer nature of them saying different things, it tells you it's not that either approach is right or wrong. If you're trying to appeal to that casting director, she's telling you what she's looking for. And if you're trying to reach a smaller agency, that's what they would respond to. Even so, with casting directors, when one gives you an opinion, you can't even take that as speaking for all casting directors, and likewise with an agency. You can't even take that one agent as speaking for all different agencies. In fact, I've spoken with and heard countless different agents speak, and what a lot of actors don't realize is that the way things are done at top-level agencies is very different from what's done at the mid-size and small agencies. So you really got to look at, is this just an example of one casting director, or do all casting directors think like that? And I assure you that there are different thoughts on some of these things, just like with agencies. For example, with agencies, here's a funny kind of thing. Back when headshots were always sent out as hard copy, you would send your headshot out and you would put your resume on the back. Now, we still do that, but it used to be the only way. You can submit through email or by the hard copy through the mail right now. But it used to be only the hard copy because email was not so prevalent. But when people would submit that way, if you were going to smaller or mid-sized agencies, it was always proper to cut your resume to be the size of 8 by 10. However, if you were going to the top level agencies, it needed to be left the whole size of the paper, 8.5 by 11, so that paper was actually bigger than the headshot. It actually looked unprofessional to cut it down if you were sending it to the big agencies. Now, I can only speculate why that was. My speculation is that they figured if you're cutting it down and getting it all nice and neat and perfect, that you just got too much time on your hands. Okay, now I don't know really why that was. Someone else told me that, oh, it's because that way if it is in a stack of papers, it sticks out more than the other headshots would. I don't know. But the bottom line is it was a standard to have your resume cut smaller to the 8 by 10 with the small to medium sized agencies. But at the big agencies, you would leave that paper full size. That's just how it was. Okay, now if you submit to agents now, I would still do it that way. When we're doing mailings from Smart Girls Productions, like we do the cover letter mailings to agents and managers, we are not typically mailing to those top-level agencies because they really don't look at submissions through the mail. But that's just an FYI of how any given thing that someone says cannot be applied across the board, and you've got to really be thinking about which way is right and how many people does this particular opinion speak for. So back to how a casting director or an agent might answer the question of, should I leave my old credits on my resume or not? I'm going to give you my answer, and that is, I just ask one question. What is going to be the most strategic thing that we can do to show you in the best way possible? Now, there are a couple of old sayings in Hollywood that you've probably heard. One is, you're only as good as your last film. And that goes for big famous stars, and it goes double for the typical aspiring and working actor. And the corollary to it, what have you done lately? Those both emphasize recent credits. If you're an A or a double A or a triple A list actor who gets paid millions of dollars per film, then these questions are very relevant. What did your last couple of films do? What kind of revenue did they make? Of course, these actors aren't submitting resumes either, but when they're being hired, the answer to those questions are what matters. It's basically their resume, but in a verbal form. But when you're among the masses of actors who haven't done much professional paid work in either network or studio projects, then it's a little less cut and dried about what to leave on and take off of your resume. If I work with you on a cover letter mailing to help you get an agent or manager, I'm going to strategically look at the whole picture of your credits, training, background, and type, and I'll give you very specific feedback. But obviously I can't do that in a video like this. I can't give you specific feedback, but I can still give you the overall guideline for your strategy. The bottom line is that your resume needs to look fresh, active, and as current as possible. If your best credit is a co-star role on Friends, which went off the air in 2004, or your one big movie credit was a supporting role in a hit movie with Brad Pitt from 2008, that is not good. Yes, it was super exciting at the time, and you may have thought your career was taking off, like I did early on, by the way, when I got a couple of really small roles. But in the eyes of a professional now, it's not impressive, even though it was a great credit back at the time it happened. It's actually better to have new or unknown credits from the past 2 years than it is to have a co-star role on Friends 15 years ago. It's even better to do your own projects and videos for YouTube and low-budget films to show that you're fully engaged now than to have a good credit 15 years ago. You must look fresh and current. When I work with a client and I see a resume that has that last credit from years ago, I really encourage that actor to do something current, even if it's a student film or some low-budget project, because it shows you're current. As a matter of fact, a couple months ago, I asked a really big talent manager about this and what he thought I should suggest to my clients if they only had old credits. And he said, tell the actor to just start with a blank slate. Go out and get some new video now. So there you go. There's your answer. It's not enough to try to use those old credits that were pretty cool at the time. You must show you're active and engaged now. However, I have one other little tip. Let's say you're trying to get those current things, a student film or a low-budget film right now. Some of those filmmakers might be impressed and like that you appeared on some of these cool shows back then. They'll be happy to tell somebody, oh yeah, the actress playing the mom on my project was on Friends a few times and some other TV series. They might be impressed because even if you're not working now as a professional, they like being able to tell people about that. So you could let them know that you've worked professionally. But even with these kinds of projects, it's still better to add some current credits to your resume. And I'm not saying to lie, by the way. I'm saying go out and get some low budget projects to put on your resume. And to get them, you might refer to these older credits that were pretty cool that you did. You just don't want all your last credits on your resume to have cobwebs on them. To sum it up for the big time, don't put all those worn out credits on your resume and think they're going to do anything for you, but do feel free to have a separate resume when you're submitting to the student or low budget or short films to help get some current credits. You could let them know because they could help you out there. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you get strategic with your old worn out credits. And I mean that with the greatest appreciation possible. We got to make things work for us whenever we can in Hollywood, but we cannot kid ourselves about the big show in Hollywood. If you want to get in action, go tidy up your resume by taking off any credits that are obviously super old and go out and start submitting for some new ones. That's it for now. Good luck, and let's talk soon.